Hello everyone, welcome to the A-Side. I'm Riley, and today I have for you my first review of a newly released album, and that will be the 1975's Notes on a Conditional Form, released yesterday, May 22nd. Now, the 1975 have really been one of the biggest breakout rock bands of the 2010s, and their success seems to be continuing into the 2020s. They put out their self-titled debut album, which, despite being extremely front-loaded, had some really, really great bangers on it, such as The City, She Way Out, Chocolate, Girls, really just a tight collection of some good pop songs. And then in 2016, they put out I Like It When You Sleep, for You Are So Beautiful, Yet So Unaware of It, which, despite the extremely pretentious and obnoxious title, was one of the best albums of the 2010s, and really continues to be the band's best work to this day. I love this album. And they followed it up with A Brief Inquiry into Online Relationships in 2018, which, critics went gaga over this thing. People were calling it the 2010s version of OK Computer, and a lot of 1975 fans didn't actually like it. I personally love this album. When it comes to which one I prefer, I probably prefer I Like It When You Sleep, but this album is very close. And that brings us to yesterday, where they put out their fourth full-length album, Notes on a Conditional Form. And it's interesting. The album is a behemoth. It's 80 minutes with 22 songs. And it's just so long. It is a very, very long album. And across these 22 tracks, they will be some of the most self-indulgent, self-important, and pretentious songs you will have heard in years. It's bad. And I'm gonna be honest, it's really boring, too. This album is filled with songs that just go one ear and out the other. It's either that or just absolutely pointless instrumental interludes that don't justify their own existence. But really, this album mostly has really, really boring, slow songs. And don't get me wrong, slow songs and ballads can be beautiful, heart-wrenching, and emotional. But Matty Healy is up his own ass so much that it takes all the relatability out of the songs, and they leave you feeling nothing but really annoyance against Matty Healy. Matty Healy is very sad on this album. He is very sad, and very lonely, and very horny. And someone on the internet called him gay. So now, he's really sad, and he's not going to let you forget about it, and he'll bring it up every couple of tracks. And I am not exaggerating. He brings the fact that someone called him gay up, 3 or 4 times. Someone called you gay on the internet. Big deal, you're a grown man. Get over it. You don't need to be talking about it every single track. You should be used to the hate. You're starting to sound like Taylor Swift, out of all people. And, I don't know, you wouldn't have made it as a YouTuber in 2016, oh my god. But, this album is really, it's a mess. And it's so hard to sit through. I listened to it 4 times, and honestly, on my 4th time, I was really just ready to be done with it. It's so drawn out, and so boring, and so pretentious, and really extremely disappointing, because I am a big fan of the 1975. I wouldn't own these records if I didn't like this band. I've listened to I Like It When You Sleep so many times. I listen to the album while playing video games constantly. I'll throw it on. And on I Like It When You Sleep, there are a lot of instrumental tracks, but they are ambient and electronica and experimental and very interesting, and they justify their own existence. They're interesting to listen to, where the instrumental interludes on Notes on a Conditional Form feel like they could have been played by anybody. Really, there's no reason for them to exist. They don't feel special or unique to the 1975. They feel like something I could hear on any album anywhere else. But let's get into the track listing. I'm going to be breaking down all 22 tracks and my thoughts on every single one, which some of these tracks really don't leave me with much to say with, because a lot of them are pretty much useless. Honestly, songs I never care to sit through again. Not to say there aren't diamonds on the rough on this album, because there are some really excellent songs, but you have to go through so much boring material that just doesn't matter to get to the good stuff. And that becomes a problem. So, we start with the 1975, as every 1975 album has, since the self-titled, way back in like 2013. Alright? And it's been the same thing every time. But it's gotten better every time, actually. I think the version on Brief Inquiry into Online Relationships is really great. But on here, it's like 4.5 minutes, and it's Greta Thunberg just preaching about climate change, which I understand climate change is a very important topic and something we should talk about, but every time you open up this album, you have to sit through 4 minutes of the 16-year-old lecturing you about climate change, even though it's coming from a band that has jets to go across world tours and presses their albums on plastic vinyl and uses plastic jewel cases, and it just comes off as incredibly preachy, but it's not an actual song, so you can just skip it. I have every time. I listened to it when it dropped, when they released it as a teaser for this album, and I have skipped it the 4 times I've listened to this album. Which then goes into the actual first song and the lead single, People, which is really awesome. I really, really like People. It's super heavy and loud, and Maddie is screaming on it, and it's very politically charged. He's writing about something other than himself for once. And it's a really good song, unlike anything the band has ever done, and it's very unique, especially on this album it stands out. And it's a really good album opener, but a very misleading lead single. But honestly, I got excited for the album because of People. It really is a rager. And it will get stuck in your head. The economy's a goner, the republic's gone banana, and his accent is really just a genius line. And it's like lightning in a bottle. You cannot capture something like that twice. It is a very, it cuts like a knife. It is a excellent song. I cannot praise People enough for being one of the best songs this band's ever put out, really. And then it goes into The End, Music for Cars, an interlude that lasts 2.5 minutes, and it's completely useless, and just is padding out the album time. We're on the 3rd track, and we've had 2 tracks of filler. Like, what is this album? What were they thinking? I mean, I know this band's always been pretentious and up their own ass, and the music usually is good enough where I can ignore that, but they're up their asses far on this album, and the music isn't anything special either, so it doesn't really excuse it. And then it goes into Frail State of Mind, which, despite being fairly boring and extremely derivative of their last 2 albums, is still one of the better tracks on this album. I don't know if it's Stockholm Syndrome, because it was the 2nd single released, but I've started to not hate it as much as I did when I first heard it. It's warmed on me a little bit. And then the album goes into Streaming, another 1.5-minute interlude that is completely useless. Do you see a pattern? Will this continue? Yeah, and it will get worse. Then it goes into The Birthday Party, which if you follow me on Twitter, you know it's no secret that I hate this song. It's so bad. There are so many different elements that they're trying to encompass in this song. It starts off with an acoustic guitar, and then like a country thing. It turns into a country song, which is really weird. You know, I don't know how to explain it, but like every sad boy country song I've ever heard has like this one noise that they play, and I do not know how to describe it, but it is played on the song and on other songs on the album. And there's like a very 1975-esque like piano plucking going on in the background that almost reminds me of The Man Who Fell in Love with the Internet on A Brief Inquiry, that plays throughout the entire track, and then a banjo kicks in at some point, and then there's a saxophone solo on top of that like farm emo sound that the country music loves, and the piano and the banjo all at once, and all these sounds clash so poorly. It feels like he had so many ideas. The band had so many ideas for all these different songs, the way they wanted to bring this song, and they just decided, fuck it, acoustic banger, indie song, 80s throwback with a saxophone solo, a country song, let's put them all together and see what happens. And it is a train wreck. The song sounds abysmal, and I hate listening to it. It is very, very bad. This song also brings up another big problem I have with this album. Is just some of the really, like, weird lyrics that have no point being on here. Like, on the birthday party, he talks about how he covers up the sound of his piss when he uses the bathroom with a significant other there. On a future track, Jesus Christ, God Bless America, 2005, or however that's sequenced, I don't really care, has a line about masturbating the second someone you find attractive leaves. Like, why would you write that and put that in your song? I do not want to envision that, Maddie Healy. Please, control yourself. So I hate the birthday party. And then it goes into a song called Yeah, I Know, which is just awful. It's so bland and boring, and Maddie gives an absolute monotone performance the entire time. Pick a card, da, 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 and he just stays on that the entire time, and it's so uninteresting and so bland. And really, I'm to the point now where it's 7 tracks in, and I'm already pulling my hair from boredom, which isn't good at all for an album that's, of this caliber, 80 minutes long, and I'm already bored 7 tracks in. The album then goes into track 8, Then Because She Goes, which, despite being a short track, is actually a really good song. The guitars are super washed out, like, production-wise, but are really loud, and Maddie's vocals are kind of more on the quiet side. And there are these, like, really low-key harmonies and stuff on the background vocals, and the song is almost like takes a weird influence from My Bloody Valentine, and almost, I don't want to say it sounds shoegazy, because it's very far from something like Loveless or Sovaki, but it's really nice. I really like Then Because She Goes. I'm having a hard time remembering the name of it because it's a dumb title, but I do really like the song. I think this is one of the highlights of the album. And this album has highlights. I know I've torn it apart so far. It's been 12 minutes of me pretty much shitting all over Maddie Healy and crew. But, I do like this song. I wish it were a little longer, but hey, I'll take what I can get at this point. Then it goes into Jesus Christ 2005, God Bless America, which has that line I mentioned earlier, which again ties into the issue of some really dumb lyrics. And, oh my god, is Maddie so pretentious on this song. I didn't mind the song when it was released as a single. I didn't love it, but it was fine. But honestly, after the 4th time listening to it, I cannot stand it. It's become irritating to me. I hate this song so much. Maddie's verse is just so pretentious, and the line, looking for airplanes in the sea, that's irony. Gee, thanks, Professor Maddie, teaching me what irony is. It's not like I'm 16, not like I haven't been through plenty of English classes to know what irony means, but thank you, Maddie. Thank you for telling me what irony means. And then he goes into this whole thing about soil needs water, and a seed, and you'll be a tree, and I'll be the leaves, and it's so stupid, it makes no sense. It's like baby's first metaphor, and he's trying so hard to sound intelligent and poignant, but really he just sounds like an idiot who is just rambling for no reason. And then it goes into a guest singer's verse, a woman, who, the verse is not as pretentious and douchey as Maddie's is, but it's not interesting whatsoever. So I don't know what to say. It's less pretentious and obnoxious, but it's 1,000 times boring than what Maddie had to say. And this also has that weird sound of the sad country boy. And at some point, I do like the very opening. It has the horns, it's kind of nice. But this song really sucks. I do hate it. And I know a lot of people do like this song. I have a friend who really likes this album. And I know you're probably watching this, and I really apologize for destroying this, but I really, really despise the song. And then it goes into Roadkill. And Roadkill is an interesting song because musically, I actually think it's really interesting and a lot better than a good majority of the tracks we've heard so far. But lyrically, it's terrible. Once again, Maddie's complaining because someone called him gay on the internet. And that's the first line of the song, is how somebody at a truck stop commented that he looked gay. Like, get over it. That doesn't need to be the way you open your song. And this song also has some really, really of those really bad lyrics that are just like, why would you do that? One is about him tucking his erection in so nobody sees it. And then one is another one pissing himself on the highway. I don't want to envision this, Maddie. Why would you write that? But the song itself, the reason I paid attention to the lyrics so much is because it sounded interesting, which is something I cannot say about a good majority of these songs. It then goes into Me and You Together song, which at first, when it was released as a single, is a song I really, really liked, actually. I thought it was a really good song. I thought the production was a little bad, and the mixing was awful, but I enjoyed the song. And then I listened to it in the context of the album, and it lost me because it just blends right in with everything else. Thematically, Maddie is bringing up the fact that people think he's gay again, and he's sad and lonely and horny, and it doesn't. It's a cut above a majority of the songs on the album, but tends to blend in with the rest of them still, and really loses me at this point. And I did like this song when it dropped, but in the context of this album, I don't think there's anything worth it. Then we go to track 12, where a normal album would have ended. This song is called I Think There's Something You Should Know. And I had to stop this video and go listen to it because this song is so unmemorable, I couldn't remember if it was an interlude or an actual song. It's an actual song, but it does absolutely nothing throughout its 4-minute runtime. Absolutely nothing interesting. Maybe a decent bridge, but besides that, I can't remember shit about the song. And I listened to this album 4 times in the last 2 days, and I cannot remember anything about this song. And that's a big problem with this album, is it's just all so boring and bland. It all just sounds like pretentious noise to me. But I digress. The album actually starts to save itself a little bit with Nothing Revealed, Everything Denied. It starts out with this really pretty gospel choir, and it's immediately, when you hear it, you're like, oh my god, did I just, accidentally give up a different album? And these really pretty, piano tones. And then it almost reminds me of a Tyler, the Creator song. It goes into Matty Healy kind of half rap, half singing, and it actually kind of has a decent flow. And then he is responded to by himself, but pitch shifted to be, very low, all over these really pretty piano chords. And it almost reminds me of something off of, Tyler, the Creator's Wolf, when he's going back and forth with his therapist character over these really pretty piano chords. And I do really like this song. And in the chorus, it goes back to Maddie singing with the gospel choir. And it's a really pretty song, actually. And followed up by that is Tonight I Wish I Was Your Boy, which is another really good song. While listening to the album for the first time, I tweeted, is this album saving itself? These 2 songs back to back? It starts out with this little piano opener and an auto-tuned, almost sounds like something like a sample out of a Kanye West song, something he would do. And it's really nice, a really nice little opening. And then comes in the, brass, but it's, produced to sound synthetic and, computery. And that would sounds like a bad thing, but it actually sounds really nice, and this really good bass line kicks in, and this song is a bop, honestly. It's so much fun to listen to, especially on an album that's so drab and boring as this. This song really sticks out as being something really great and really unique, and it almost reminds me of, going through a carnival, that's what it makes me feel like, and envision in my head, a carnival rides, people eating cotton candy, clowns walking around, It's a lot of fun. And then it goes into Shiny Collarbone, which is another interlude that's absolutely pointless. But I can forgive it, because then it's followed up with If You're Too Shy, Let Me Know. And I just want to stop and think about how amazing this song is. This is one of the best songs in 1975 has ever made. And it's just so good. It's amazing. The chorus on this thing is anthemic, and Matty Healy gives such a great performance. He's so engaging, which is something he's not on a lot of this album. Sounds very bored on a lot of this album. Doesn't give a good engaging performance. But on If You're Too Shy, Then Let Me Know, he is hitting falsettos, he is just singing his heart out, and sounds like he's having a lot of fun. Like I said, the chorus is just so anthemic, and then it's followed up with like a saxophone, and it's just so good to hear. And the guitar sounds great. The electronic arpeggios that follow the drums at the beginning, that keep playing through the entire song on the synths, sound amazing. And this song really is become an anthem for our quarantine. It wasn't supposed to be, but the song is about when Maddie's on tour, seeing his significant other on FaceTime and on the internet. I see her online all the time. It's about those things and being separated from the one you love and seeing them on the phone and the emotional and sexual desires that come with that. And despite it being about Maddie being, in a different country, away from the person he loves, this has become more of an anthem for us not being able to see our friends and significant others in our real life during this pandemic time. And even if it wasn't for that, this song still sounds amazing. It's written really well. It falls into the same kind of, oh, I'm really sad and lonely and horny, I'm Matty Healy. But he just does such a good job on this song, and there's a killer sax solo, and this song is just so good. It sounds like something off of I Like It When You Sleep, but brought forward. If they would have stuck with that sound going into A Brief Inquiry, I feel like this is where it would have been. It is a continuation and upgrade of the sounds that I Like It When You Sleep, and I could not be happier with the way this sounds. It was my favorite single off the album, and it still stands to be one of my favorite song on this album. Probably my second or third favorite song of the year, probably behind Level of Concern and Eternal Summer. But it's so good. Really, it's one of their best songs today, and easily the best song on this album. Really, if you don't listen to this album at all, I at least implore you to check out If You're Too Shy, Let Me Know, because this song is amazing. I was bumping it from the minute it was released, and I still am. I downloaded one song off of this album on Apple Music, and it was that one. So, then it goes into a song that is probably equally as bad as If You're Too Shy, Let Me Know is good, which is Playing on My Mind, which is another really boring, acoustic, Matty Healy's being a pretentious asshole in a sad song. That's it. And he takes like a really boomer swipe at phones, which just seemed very weird and out of nowhere. A lot of A Brief Inquiry dealt with the ideas of technology and postmodernism, but it was very intelligent on that album. Here, he just sounds like a boomer, phone bad, everything wrong with society comes from phones. And that kind of bothered me, and the rest of the song just kind of blows from there on out. There's nothing interesting about it, which pretty much is this entire album. I'm gonna be real with you. And then it goes into a 6-minute instrumental interlude called What Should I Say? And I listened to all 6 minutes of this song 4 fucking times. And you know what? I didn't enjoy it a single time. It's useless fluff just to make the album seem longer. I don't know if they were trying to go for this double album, their version of the White Album, because it's not. If you want a long album that incorporates a lot of different sounds, that is a modern equivalent to the White Album, check out Vampire Weekend's Father of the Bride, because that album is long. It's 17 tracks, but every song is interesting, and every song is trying a different sound, and it works on just about every song. Ezra Koenig gives a great performance. It's all interesting. It's never overly pretentious or overly obnoxious, but I digress. That's a review for another day. And then Bags Me Not in Net, which honestly is a no. Sorry. Then it goes into What Should I Say? which is actually another song I actually really like. It almost sounds like a sequel to Two Time, Two Time, Two Time from A Brief Inquiry into Online Relationships, but this time it sounds a lot darker. And instead of being kind of auto-tuned to be higher, it's auto-tuned to be lower. And it bumps, actually. It's a lot of fun to listen to. And just a very interesting sound. I think it really stands out on this album as something that panned out to actually be interesting and something new for this band. Bagsy, Not in Net, and Don't Worry are both 2.5-minute songs that are there. They're boring. They're unremarkable. Just like a lot of this album. Boring and unremarkable. Pretentious. Dumb. Matty Healy's up his own ass. And meanders on until the 22nd track, Guys, which is good. There. It closes on a high note. It opens with People, a high note. Closes with Guys, which is a high note. And Guys is a slower song. But it's very pretty for one. It's done very well with these really, neat, subtle synth lines. And also, Matty Healy is writing about something other than himself. He's writing about his friends, and how much he loves his friends, and how much he loves the band, and how much he loves his significant other. And it's nice. I would probably like this album more if I wouldn't have had to sit through, 70-plus minutes of shit to get to this one song. But it's a very nice, slow song, a very nice closer. And once again, in this time of pandemic, the line, I was missing the guys, is something very relatable. And because Matty Healy isn't so up his own ass on this song, I can relate to it. And I do relate to it. And it's very pretty and a very emotional album closer. And although it's probably weaker than, it's definitely weaker than She Lays Down. And it's definitely weaker than, I Always Want to Die Sometimes off the last two albums. I wouldn't say it's their worst closing track, actually. I, to be honest, couldn't tell you what the closing track is on their self-titled album. That ends up kind of fizzling out and dying by the end. But this song, Guys, is very solid, and I do mean that. So that's a lot. I know I just put my entire thoughts on every single one of these tracks. 22 songs, 80 minutes. I was been doing this review so long that my timer went off to take stomach medicine. But that I just need to spend that much time because this album is so long and drawn out. And I really don't know what they were thinking. Did they want to fluff the album out this long? Did they think it was a good idea? Are they that pretentious now? And it just feels like a waste of time. I feel like if they would have cut all the instrumental interludes, it would be 15 to 20 minutes shorter of an album, and probably a little more easier to listen to. And I feel like there is a good album somewhere in here, but it's so fluffed up with boring song, unremarkable song, stupid interludes and songs that don't even justify their own existence, things that just don't need to be on here. So it's hard to praise an album that has songs as good as If You're Too Shy, Let Me Know, and People, when there are songs like Jesus Christ 2005, God Bless America, The Birthday Party, countless interludes, like the music for Cars, The End. It's so hard to praise an album that has good stuff, and it's hard to praise this good stuff when just so much of it is bullshit. Honestly, I'm feeling a 3 out of 10. I am a fan of this band, and I really wanted to love this album, but I just don't, and I probably will never come back and listen to it in full. So, yeah, that's it. This review is almost 30 minutes. I'm really sorry about that, but I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think of Notes on a Conditional Form, and, give me your scoring. Favorite tracks, least favorite tracks. For me, favorite track is definitely If You're Too Shy, Let Me Know. Before I close this album, I just want to say one more time how good that song is, because this review is very negative, but I want to leave you on a positive note. If You're Too Shy, Let Me Know is, on a 3 out of 10 album, a 10 out of 10 song. So, yeah. That's it. Notes on a Conditional Form, 1975. Have a good night, everyone.